Hello, this is Andrew. I'm back and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the OSI and network. Okay, the objectives here is to just get an overview of the networks, computers, protocols, OSI, TCP models, encapsulation and decapsulation. I know that's a lot for one presentation, but I like to present all of these things kind of together at one time and then we'll go dig deeper into them later. I think it gives a better idea of what's going on rather than just immediately looking at everything in detail. So let's take a quick look at this and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So I'm on a PC here in Seattle and I want to communicate with a PC over here in New York City. Email, I want to open a web page. Let's say it's a server. I'm here, I want to open the web page on this. So I go off to some network somewhere. I type into my computer, I enter a web page, and it goes off to some network somewhere and ends up to this guy's server in New York City, and a web page opens. So that's what we're going to look at is what's going on in this process. So here's the PC. This blue is the PC in Seattle, and this blue here is the PC2 in New York City or server. Okay, so we're using some application, SMTP, POP3, IMAP, just whatever application it is, and we're sending that down the PC and it's turning into ones and zeros, going over the network and into New York. Okay, we got that. Okay, so if we start looking a little more at what's on the computer, we can see here's like an application layer, here's a transport layer, here's a network layer, a data link layer, and a physical layer. Well, the physical layer is not really in the computer, but you get the idea. So over here is the same thing. So in fact, if I'm on an application here and I open my browser and I want to get a web page from this server, I literally, the computer has to literally break down the information into different stages, and then we walk through these stages, the transport layer, the network layer, the data link layer, and then across the physical layer to the other server. So that's where the OSI model comes in. And here we have layer 7 is the application, layer 6 is presentation, layer 5 is sessions, layer 4 is transport, layer 3 is network, layer 2 is data link, and layer 1 is physical. Right now, what you just need to do is get those remembered. And I always remember it by all people seem to need data processing. And that'll get you to remember the OSI model. Then for the TCP/IP model, really, layer 5 and 6, we don't, as network engineers, we don't really deal too much with them anyway. So all of that's kind of encapsulated into one layer here. Layer 4 is application, and then data link layer and physical layer is into layer 1 on network. So understand these are two different models. Okay, the OSI model, the TCP model, PIP model, and it's two different ways of looking at the model. Okay. So for now, what we're going to do is just say that 5 and 6 live in 7. So just keep that in mind because we don't deal with layer 5 and 6 too much. Okay? But be aware that it is layer 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the OSI model. Okay, so what happens is I'm in Seattle and I send information down my PC to go over to the server or PC in New York City. And the first thing it's going to do is from the application layer, you've got this data right here. And this data is going to it's going to add a header onto the data. It's just a header. For now, remember, we're at the high level. We're not even worried about what's in there. We're just at the high level. We know that a header is being added to this data. Now, when it goes down to the layer 3, it's still going down. When it goes down to layer 3, it adds another header. So this is actually another bit of information that's added to this And then we go down to the data link layer. And at the data link layer, we add even another header and a trailer. And then we'll see in future, as we dig into it, that layer 3 is where the IP addresses are added. Layer 2 is where the MAC address is added. But for now, we're just looking at the higher level. So what happens? I initiate contact with this computer. It goes down this, breaks down into the layer 4. In the layer 4, it adds the transport layer header, and then at layer 3 it adds the network layer header, then the data link layer header and trailer. Okay, now when it gets to the other side, the same process happens in reverse, and that's called decapsulation. As it comes up layer 2, it literally strips off the layer 2 header and trailer. As it comes to layer 3, it rips off the layer 3 network header, and then the layer 4 transport layer header, and then you're left with just the actual information. So let's take a look at this again. Okay, here's your OSI model on both sides. Now here you have a piece of data coming down, and it's being encapsulated with the layer 3 header, the layer 2 header, and the layer 2 trailer. Then it's going over the network to New York. It's coming in here, and the decapsulation, it's tearing off the header and the trailer. The layer 3 network's taking off the header. The layer 4 network is taking off the layer 4 header, and you're left with the data back at layer 7. So what you need to know out of that is the OSI model and the TCP model, the difference, because on exams and interview questions, they love asking those questions. Oh, what I say is the OSI model important? Yes, because the more you get into networking, you start to understand that troubleshooting can be done at all the different layers. And not only that, you'll also see that to really start to understand security, which is a hot topic, is you need to understand the layers, because security is added at all layers. Okay, so you can add security at layer 2, at layer 3, at layer 4. In fact, you have to secure. You even add security on your PCs and your Linux stations. So everything has to be secured at every layer. Okay. So what else you wanted to get out of that is protocols. We didn't do too much, but we're going to go into that deeper. But just be aware that each layer has certain protocols, port numbers, encapsulation. I think we went through encapsulation pretty well. Which layers add and which headers and trailers. We didn't look at what kind of information is going into the frames at these times, but we will. And decapsulation. Upon receipt, which layers remove which headers and trailers. Okay, like I said, on the next video, we're going to take a deeper dive into this information. Thank you.